Just like the Pokémon, the towns and cities of the Pokémon world have a lot of interesting stuff to offer. We learned that last time as we began a mini-series covering a cool fact about every city and town in the main series Pokémon games, and today we are here to continue that for Generation 3. Let's check it out. Littleroot. This is where you begin your adventure in Hoenn, and this starting town contains a nice reference to another starting town. Its slogan reads, "A town that can't be shaded any hue." This is a pretty clear callback to the first two generations of Pokémon, as most of the towns in Kanto and Johto are named after colors, and Kanto and Johto are obviously closely connected, while Hoenn has broken off from that continuity, which is what this is likely in reference to. However, similar to Pallet Town with the cities and towns of Kanto, this facet of Littleroot Town is also likely a reference to Hoenn's cities and towns as well, as many of them, like Verdant Town, Slateport, Rustboro, etc., are named after various color shades, tying into the specific wording used by Littleroot's slogan. After leaving Littleroot, you'll quickly come upon Oldale Town, and in the anime, Oldale debuted in the episode A Ruin with a View. In this episode, a location known as the Oldale Ruins are featured, and in order to gain access to the ruins, 4 treasures need to be placed within a special door. These 4 treasures seen in the episode are the same colors as the Generation 1 games, red, green, blue, and yellow, and are also placed into the door in their order of release. First red, then green, then blue, then yellow, which could be a possible reference to the Kanto titles. When it comes to Petalburg City, it is actually very similar in concept to Viridian City from Kanto. Both of these cities contain the first gym you encounter in their respective games, but you can't battle either of them until later in the game. Additionally, both of these cities are connected to routes that lead into a forest, which then leads to the town with the first gym you can face in each game, and this first gym leader in each game specializes in the rock type. Going even further than that, though, is the fact that the gym leaders in Petalburg and Viridian City, Norman and Giovanni, are also both fathers to key characters in their respective games, with Norman being the father of the player character and Giovanni the father of Silver, the rival character from Pokémon Gold and Silver. Speaking of Rustboro City, there are some early pre-release screenshots for Pokémon Ruby and Sapphire on Nintendo of Japan's website that feature a version of Rustboro with some distinct differences. While the screenshot is only of a small portion of the city, it clearly shows a different building in place of where the Rustboro Gym is in the final game, as well as an additional lamppost sitting behind this building that isn't in the final games either, likely indicating that the Rustboro Gym originally sat in a different place in the city at one point. After Rustboro, you next head to Dewford Town, and in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, there are actually multiple pieces of fan-made content that can be found here. The first is a map of Poke-Earth, which originally came from Cerebi.net, which can be found inside an NPC's house. The second actually comes from the dialogue of Brawly, Dewford's gym leader. Before being battled in the French version of the games, Brawly says, "I discovered the secret of true power by staring at a Helix fossil for days and days." This is a direct reference to the events of Twitch Plays Pokémon, which took place in early 2014, the same year that the Hoenn remakes were also released. Slateport City is where you head next on your Hoenn adventure, and this is one of the places where you can board the SS Tidal. This boat will take you from Slateport City to Lilycove City, and while riding it, you can do the usual exploring and battling trainers. However, a feature on this boat that can easily pass you by is that if you approach one of the boat's windows on the first floor and press A, it will actually allow you to see the boat sailing from the outside as it makes its way to Lily Cove City. Meanwhile, Mauville City is a central location in Hoenn, especially in the remakes, as it appears very different here to the way it did in the original games. This caught many players off guard initially, but this change is actually alluded to in the original Pokémon Ruby and Sapphire by Mauville's gym leader, Watson, where he says, "I've given up on my plans to convert the city I have, and so I put my time into making door traps in my gym." So, while Watson wasn't able to complete his plans in the original games, he was able to in the remakes. West of Mauville City is Verdant Town, one of the most peaceful and relaxing towns in all the Pokemon world, which is why it might be a surprise that it is most likely based on a story from World War II. During World War II, when the atomic bomb was about to be dropped on Japan, one of the atomic bombs was planned to be dropped on the town of Kokura, but these plans were changed the morning of the drop after it was found that Kokura was obstructed by fog, essentially meaning that the weather spared it from destruction. This is very similar in concept to Verdant Town, whose wind currents keep it clear of the volcanic ash that falls from Mount Chimney, and this is likely an intentional connection considering that Kokura is located in the Kyushu region of Japan, which Hoenn is based on. Arbor Town is another small locale in Hoenn, and just like Rustboro City from before, those same pre-release screenshots also show Arbor in a different state as well. The roof of the house next to the contest hall in these screenshots can be seen with a slightly different color pattern, but more significantly is the fact that just behind the text box in the bottom right corner of the screenshot, a house can be seen in the place where a Pokemart sits in the final games, revealing that a slightly different layout was once planned for this town as well. When you come to Lava Ridge Town, there's not a whole lot to do here besides taking on the gym, but in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, there was a secret added to this town that you might not be aware of. After facing off against either Groudon or Kyogre, you can actually come back to Lava Ridge and find a Kecleon hiding in the hot spring. It requires the Devon Scope to be discovered, so it's normally invisible, and considering that there's really no reason to come back here after beating the gym in the first place, and especially not as late into the game as after battling Groudon or Kyogre, this is a nice bonus in the remakes that many people might have overlooked. As a bonus fact, you are also able to get a Togepi egg at this stage in the game from the same lady that gives you a Wynot egg earlier in your adventure. After Lava Ridge Town, you'll do some backtracking and eventually end up at Fortree City, which is the home of the gym leader Winona. Her ace Pokemon is an Altaria, however, it seems very likely that her ace was probably a different Pokemon originally. Tropius is a Pokemon that is literally custom made for Winona, as it's a flying type and also has a tropical jungle vibe, which fits the theme of Fortree City, where Winona's gym is, perfectly. However, Winona didn't even own a Tropius in Ruby and Sapphire, and wasn't seen having one until Emerald, but even then, Altaria was still her ace. Based on the aforementioned evidence, however, it's very possible that Tropius could have been possibly designed as Winona's signature Pokemon, but for some reason, plans were changed and she was given Altaria instead. In the completely random facts category, Lilycove City's slogan is "Where the land ends and the sea begins." This just so happens to also be the motto of Homer, Alaska, and in addition, both cities also just so happen to be situated within a peninsula, just to make this connection all the more real and all the more out of left field. Coming off the shores of Lilycove, you'll eventually find your way to Mossdeep City, and in Pokémon Emerald, the Mossdeep Gym has a whopping 12 trainers to face, not including the gym leader. This is tied with the Lumiose City Gym for the largest amount of gym trainers in a gym in the entire series. For my fact on Tsunopus City, I've got what is probably the most roundabout connection to the city that could possibly be construed, but it's pretty funny. In the Prima official strategy guide for Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green, it's mentioned that Pineco can be found in the Cave of Origin, which sits within Tsunopus City. Not only is this not true, but the Cave of Origin isn't even an accessible location within Fire Red and Leaf Green, making for a pretty bad typo. To add insult to injury, it's possible that this was meant to refer to Altering Cave, which was a special location in Fire Red and Leaf Green where Pineco was supposed to be able to be found with the help of an event. But these events never ended up getting distributed, so even if the guide had been right, it still wouldn't have been accurate at the end of the day, which just makes this even more of a mess. Just outside of Tsunopus is Pacific Town, and remember when I was talking about how a bunch of the names of Hoenn cities have ties to color? Well, this is true for Pacific as well, as the last 4 letters of its name are gold spelled backwards. This isn't just a coincidence either, as several of Pacific's international names make reference to gold as well, and the town's slogan is even tied into this too, as it states, "Where the morning sun smiles upon the waters," with gold obviously being in reference to the sun. And for the final town of the Hoenn region, we have Evergrande City. Evergrande is unique in that it is a city which actually includes the Pokémon League within its borders, and in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, the League was given a makeover, with its new appearance actually being most likely based on a real-life location, which is none other than Shuri Castle in Okinawa, Japan. And there you have it. If you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like and leave a comment down below with which of these facts interested you the most. We will hopefully be continuing this series in the future, so be sure to subscribe as well, and with that said, I'll be back with another video very soon. Until then, as always, thanks so much for watching, I really appreciate it, and I will smell you guys later.